Hi everybody, this is Tom Callaghan from C-Risk. Today I'm going to talk about risk tolerance and risk appetite and how these two metrics can be used to improve your information security governance, and how CRQ, or cyber risk quantification, is an essential element to introduce risk appetite and link that to technology or cyber risk scenarios. So there's a lot of confusion about risk tolerance and risk appetite. Very often these terms are used interchangeably, however they are different. So we're going to start with doing some definitions. Let's first think about the definition of risk appetite. So risk appetite is the target level of loss that your organization deems is acceptable to achieve its business objectives in the context of your resources. So it's very much a kind of a balance between risk versus reward. Risk appetite is something which is not static. It's something that the organization decides and can change over time. And it can change depending on a business strategy, for example. A business might be going for growth and willing to take on more risk to achieve that growth, whereas a different business might be more about stability. And risk appetite can vary across industries and geographies also. Now, risk tolerance is a little bit different, and it's a bit more complex as well. It's defined from risk appetite. It's how much variation from your risk appetite that your business can really withstand. So it's a variation from risk appetite. A good way to look at risk tolerance is that if you hit and go beyond your risk tolerance, you're probably putting your business at risk of maybe cease trading, or the board or the CEO may lose support of the shareholders. These two things are linked. Risk tolerance is typically derived from risk appetite, and risk appetite is a business decision which is linked to your business objectives and your business strategy. So we've defined risk appetite and risk tolerance. It should be pretty clear that these are financial measurements. That might seem obvious, but some risk management teams try to think about these things in more qualitative manners. But really, risk appetite really is only useful when it's measured in financial terms. Risk analysts also often struggle to define or set what a risk appetite should be. And that's kind of normal, right? Because it's not the job of a risk analyst, or even like a CRO or a CISO, to define your risk appetite. Risk appetite is something which is linked very much to the kind of accounting definition of a material loss. The best person or group of stakeholders in an organization to kind of work with to define risk appetite is going to be the CFO. And this is something the CFO is going to be super comfortable with. CFOs will think about things like, what's a material loss for the business? Material losses need to be tracked. They need to be reported to regulators and the board. So again, if you're a risk analyst and you want to use risk appetite, work with your financial team, work with your CFO, and you'll be able to quickly agree what the risk appetite should look like for your organization. So we've defined what risk appetite is. We know that it's a financial metric. We know that that can come from the CFO. But what is it useful for? So, I think any risk analyst team or risk assessment can really kind of use this idea of risk appetite to drive better decisions. If you take a cybersecurity risk scenario, if by quantifying that risk scenario it becomes clear that the most likely or kind of average loss over time goes beyond your risk appetite, it should be clear that there is a good case to do some investment in reducing the risk via adding additional controls, or maybe rethinking the kind of business service that is sitting behind that risk. So I've talked again about the fact that you can use risk appetite as a way of driving better decisions by identifying scenarios that go beyond your given risk appetite and also perhaps your risk tolerance for a business. What's important, of course, is to try to define and scope scenarios to which you can apply that risk appetite metric. And we've done some other videos on risk scenario scoping, and we've done some other videos also on what decisions drive a risk analysis or risk assessment. So I would encourage you to go and look at those other videos and think about how you can use this new concept of risk appetite and risk tolerance to further better improve your decision making. Thanks for listening to this today. If you want to learn more about the topic of risk in general, cyber risk quantification, risk appetite and risk tolerance, please check out the C-Risk blog. Thank you.